In this video, I'm going to be reacting to a new video posted by Tommy G that discusses human smugglers, immigrants, and as you know, I'm an immigration attorney, so it's a thing to react to this.
Today's story, we have three main characters: legal immigrants, human smugglers, and U.S. government.
And one thing I'd say, it also doesn't take into fact the individuals that are perhaps, requesting for the undocumented individuals to come into the U.S. That's another aspect.
Immigrants are sacrificing everything to come to this country to escape oppression and dire economic circumstances back home.
Police are now bracing for 10,000 migrants a day.
26,000 migrants in just 72 hours. The crisis is being prolonged from what is happening.
Yeah, and there's some countries, Latin America, is not as well off as the U.S. There's even some countries I know, like Nicaragua, the president over there is a dictator, and there's a lot of persecution. And you can see here that there's women in Latin America, generally it's more dangerous, in terms of femicide, things like that. It's pretty bad.
The human smugglers see an opportunity to make thousands and thousands of dollars while evading law. And the U.S. government is pulling out all the stops to keep these illegal immigrants out of this country, including...
Yeah, I've heard from consultations, I've heard from people as well that I think in terms of, what they charge smuggling an individual into the U.S., it's like $10,000 to $15,000 per person. And, for these people, it's going to be like, hey, you need to give us that money up front. It's not going to be payment plans or anything like that. It's like, you need to give us that money up front. So I imagine they're bringing in, like 10 people. Of course, they're not going to get the full amount, but they're going to get a portion. So in terms of that amount, it likely works out what he said.
Movies filled with saws, a militarized border, and heavy punishment for people involved in the smuggling. We get to talk to each of these characters involved in the story. Boots on the ground. Let's begin.
Stop trying the same Amazon income opportunities as everyone else. Following the crowd is...
Today we're diving into one of the most important topics we've covered yet on the channel: the story of human smuggling, illegal immigration, and the human desire for a better life. We're going to be talking to human smugglers, coyotes, and immigrants that are making the death-defying journey to America. We'll see you on the phone. So what is it like seeing these walls be constructed in your town?
Surprising. Lived here your whole life without the spending here, that like she's getting a little more serious.
This looks like a whole... There's probably 15, 20, maybe 30 law enforcement vehicles here. We're in Texas, and they've got a whole lot of Florida things to put back up. Yeah, the whole city's like Florida.
Yeah, and I know in terms of that, I have seen statistics. I know it's on the CBP website that there have been, I do believe I made a video on this, an influx. There's been more immigrants that have been coming in. So here, there is statistics right here in terms about, the entries that happened in 2020, that many. 2021, 2022, it increased, and it's likely that probably in 2023, since we still have several months to go, it may be that it surpasses 2022. And right here it's a statistic that shows the amount of individuals that have came in. And in 2023, in some ways there have been more, in some months less, but there is quite a bit of people, in total, several 100,000 a month. I imagine in terms of, seeing these other agencies from other states, it's probably needed because they don't have the sufficient resources in that state to, spend on immigration.
What the hell are they doing here? But it's just that bad, bro.
Here on the border, there's just another round of people being, it looks like, activated for. There's buses right here. Remember how close to the situation we can get? Some of these people made it from Honduras, Colombia, Venezuela, and now they're getting sent home. These guys got caught on the border, they're getting sent back.
They crossed on the backside, yeah.
You make it all the way to the edge of America, and this is what you kind of looks like a jacket. It's stuck here, it's stuck. I'm trying to get through this. Imagine your mom wearing that and getting stuck in barbed wire. Did you see Governor Abbott? He just put saw blades in the boots.
Yeah, that shit already killed 2 people, bro.
What is it like for people living in these type of towns?
It get a little scary for people, bro. Like, you really will see, like, crowds of them walking through neighborhoods here. Your grandma could be walking outside and like, oh shit, like, being fear. Like, these people could just rush in the house, like, because they're thirsty, hungry, want money, want to sit in my car.
Did that ever happen?
Out in ranches, he's around there, let's do that shit, because, like, they got no option.
This man right here, been with us for some of the sketchiest shit we've done on the channel. We got raided by Mexican police last time I met you. Yeah, right.
No, listen. Well, we might end up in just so we could just like have no paperwork, no problem, no hold.
So we're gonna go talk to some smugglers. Are you ready? I'm sorry. Approach Ron, and we're gonna- You put heads here. It's like 110 degrees outside. Coming from like, is there a specific country? Honduras? Everyone that goes over the border, does the cartel kind of have their hands in it in some way? Doing business with the cartel? The cartel is like the last group on earth I think I want to be stuck in a room with if they don't like me, you know? People make it all the way from Honduras, and then they're here. What's the next step of the journey? How do you make it past a check?
And by checkpoints, it's usually, immigration checkpoints on the freeway that are controlled by, immigration. I know in California and San Clemente, but that's what they're referring to. I mean, this is in Texas. It may be more stringent than in California, but just checkpoints where immigration can stop you. And just so you know, I mean, the ACLU does have... So immigration does have authority within the 100-mile border zone, and you can, if I can pull it up here better. So there is a lot of places where immigration has authority to, has more authority to stop you and question you. So that's something to keep in mind for these individuals.
Checkpoint, waiting for someone to look at your car. What is going through your head? They take a path in the nature trail or something, and you go to the checkpoint alone. How many people at a time is safe to do? That's not what's in How long is the journey usually take? What are the risks involved with doing this? There was a story of a guy who was driving an 18-wheeler with like 100 people in it and didn't get paid. So he peeped out, let people in the van. Like, tell me a crazy story that happened, what situation you got into while doing this.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty bad. This guy, in order not to get caught, just pretty much screwed over people and just left them in the middle of nowhere. We don't know if it was in the... How are they going to find, a safe place? How are they going to get to where they need to get? Some people die in the desert. It's a desert, food, water, things like that. I mean, honestly, probably best case scenario would be if those individuals that he just dropped off, maybe didn't even drop off. Maybe, best case scenario would probably be if they got picked up by Border Patrol and at least they could apply for asylum or something, because if, they're not caught, they're not found, it could go pretty badly.
What do you think about that? How much does it cost someone to make the journey over?
Yeah, and right there, 20-30 grand. It seems like they've been pricier than it was before.
How lucrative is a profession for people in your shoes, the coyotes? How old were you when you started on this? I think you started on one of these down while you were doing this. Your spidey says so. How long do you see yourself doing this? How do you tell your parents what you do for money? What do they know about it? Like other reasons, everything's blue that have saw blades in it. So people that are crossing the river can get cut up, they can die. What do you guys think about that? And you have to base...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I don't know if they're like buoys that have knives or something, but I mean, that does sound unlawful. I mean, it's pretty messed up. I know they mentioned in the video they did die, but it does sound unlawful to do that. I just, I imagine it's probably going to be difficult. These individuals that are undocumented are coming into the U.S. like this. They're probably not going to want to, proceed some action. They're probably not going to want to sue, because then they're going to find out, hey, I'm undocumented. Well, you're saying, hey, the governor did this, and because of that, you suffered injury. We'll order, I'm not from here. And then it's like, okay, cool. Like, you could sue us, but we're going to come after you. We're going to report you to the authorities, to ICE, and they're going to come after you. So I imagine even if something like this is unlawful, it'd be difficult to find a potential plaintiff documented. They're not going to want to be deported. So it gets very difficult.
Basically rub shoulders with the cartel to do this job. When it gets you in America, do you think immigration should be illegal? Do you think we should just have open borders where anyone can come in? Have you noticed that immigration in the last 2 or 3 years has picked up dramatically? Really?
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that Republicans, in terms of if there are more lenient policies, if, one president looks upon immigration more favorably, some immigrants may think, okay, I'm going to do it. Worst case happens. Maybe I'll just get sent back. This president's more in favor. Whereas when there's a president that's more, that's stricter, then they're going to probably think twice. Hey, if I do it, I'll probably be in jail and they're not going to let me go. Things like that. And if you saw, the statistics that I did bring up, and, the statistics don't paint the whole picture. Nonetheless, though, like in 2020, during that time, that's when Trump was in office. Biden came in shortly after, but during that time, there was less people coming into the U.S. Thereafter, more people came. So to be made that, one of the reasons less people came was because there was a president that was stricter on immigration.
What do we do to make America a better place? And some of you guys are trying to all the way to Chicago. How many trips or how many different people do we have to link up with? Any final thoughts before we get out? As we stopped to get gas, we noticed Border Patrol also getting gas too. We decided to... In the last 2-3 years, the border's been in crisis. Is that accurate to say?
It has.
Where do you notice most of the people coming from? Is there a particular country or region, or is it all over the place?
It's all over the place. I've seen Cuban, Venezuelans, more Mexican nationals, Russians. That was the first time I came on the other day. There were like one Russian.
A lot of times, these people, their families are working hard to get the money to come over here, and they do this because they want an opportunity. Do you think their mind changes once they get here, or do they believe that once they cross the border, it's like this is the American dream?
I truly believe that they think that once they cross here, they're free. And they are, because they do get safe here. Like this Title 42 came in, and like some get sent back.
What's Title 42?
Yeah, and for some people here undocumented, then be back in your country documented. Even if you're undocumented, here in the U.S., you can still work. And even if you're working, getting paid under the table or minimum wage, for most people, it's still a lot more money than they ever made back in their home country. And I know when I've spoken with clients, spoken with immigrants, things do cost more over here. But even then, like in comparison with whatever is left over, you are going to be making more here than back in your country of birth. And for most people, that's a great opportunity. You want to go back, like they can work here for a few years and then live more comfortably back home. So for most people, yeah, it's worth the risk. Even if I can never get legalized, I just want to work here, make more money, and, provide a better life for my kids or make enough money and go home. So, truth to what the officer's saying.
Title 42 just means that it's national appearance, and if I'm not mistaken, Venezuelans can send that before that Title 42 came into effect, they were all in savior. You go get a piece of paper once the immigrant will get processed and said, here's the paper, you got to go to court, you're free to stay.
You guys need a lot of action right now.
Oh yeah, we decided to shoot the other day.
Hey, here, you still got to go to immigration court. You still got to do the immigration process. If you lose at, the immigration court, then yeah, you're going to get sent back. But yes, there was a process. If you fear for, being returned to birth and, you passed a credible fear interview, then you could stay here. If your credible fear interview was denied because, what you're saying isn't really adding up, then yeah, you wouldn't get to stay here. But, I'd say for the most part, for the majority of people with that credible fear interview, they were able to stay here. Because there was just so many immigrants coming through, it got to the point where eventually they weren't even doing the credible fear interview. So people would just come in, like he was saying, maybe they would be asked some questions. All right, here's a date, go to court and continue with your process. So yeah, there's a lot of, I imagine, not enough personnel to, process these individuals, not enough money, so many different issues. So there's a lot here.
Stolen vehicle for smugglers. I don't know if you guys heard about Kia boys.
I did a documentary on the Kia boys.
They do that. Well, Kia boys are essentially sitting Kias, bring them down here, load up, take off.
Wow.
I appreciate it, man.
Have a good night.
Absolutely, man.
So far in this trailer, we've done a great job of getting the outlaw side of the story. But I think it is important to include the law enforcement side, because there's a yin yang to every single story. I think we have to give some understanding to what they see and go through every single day. You think that's Border Patrol? Look, there's some buoys over there. These are the legendary buoys that are talked about. Do we see any saws? Saw, bro. Dude, that shit is in a shark. So you are literally traveling hundreds of miles to get here, the American dream, and this is what you encounter. Our gift from the state of Texas. We're doing our research on the saws here to voice over on why they're here. What we stumbled upon were the controversial Rio Grande buoys that Texas Governor Greg Abbott put into the river. These buoys have saw blades that can cut and maim the immigrants as they cross the Rio Grande River. Many call this practice. To me, it seems inhumane. You were not supposed to go past that trooper that's there. I didn't say sign that. Of course, your car can get in and.
I was told that this area is open to the public now. The orders may have changed.
Yeah, sure.
So he's going to get the clarification from the higher ups. If it is open, you guys are welcome to film. Good? Okay.
Are people right there? I think so. Oh my God, people just got caught. So it looks like people just got caught crossing the border. ¿De dónde eres? Venezuela. ¿Por qué sales tu país a venir aquí?
And yeah, I'm surprised this guy, Tommy G, can speak, decent Spanish. But yeah, good for him, asking questions in Spanish and getting some responses. And yeah, there's people there from several countries. Every country has their different politics, and all these people have different reasons for, although most common, for better economic opportunities.
¿Qué tipo de problemas tenían allá?
En mi caso, la guerrilla, los baracos,
Narcotráfico allá. ¿Los costó dinero?
nada, venimos con lo poco que tenemos.
¿Cuánto?
Yeah, and some of these people, they don't have like the 15 grand to pay, so they'll make a deal, and then they're pretty much working like as indentured slaves, servants, however you want to think about it, until they pay it off. Some of the individuals they were being asked was like, hey, we came, I didn't have that much money. I came, with what little I had, and that's the story for many of them.
Semanas o meses tardaron para llegar. Un mes, bueno, men. ¿Quiere que vivo con él?
Sí, él sí ve, pero tiene problemas. Pero me quitaron los poquitos de dinero que traía.
¿Quién robarte?
Over and over again from the immigrants, we heard that the hardest part of their journey was dealing with the Mexican police, who were beating them and robbing them at every turn. And by far the scariest thing about getting deported back to Mexico was the idea of the Mexican police again.
¿Y dónde eres?
Venezuela. Colombia.
Colombia. Colombia. Si puedes hacer el viaje a América, ¿qué quieres hacer con tu vida?
Pero de seguridad y trabajo.
Escucha sobre los buoys con los saws.
Pues lo vemos riesgoso, pero más riesgoso es perder la vida. Y primero que todo hay que lanzarnos a la suerte. Primero es nuestra vida.
Yeah, and everyone just want to work. They want safety. They're saying that, Mexico is a lot more dangerous, that the police there took, what little they had economically, money-wise, so they don't have much, and they do fear going back to Mexico.
¿Tienes familia que fue contigo en el viaje que no están aquí?
Todos solos y nos hemos encontrado. Y para venir hasta acá nos hemos ayudado uno con los otros.
Ahora estamos en la frontera americana y hay la policía aquí. ¿Qué piensas va a ocurrir ahora?
Ellos nos dijeron que no podíamos cruzar porque sería ilegal, pero nos dijeron que esperáramos aquí, que el migración llegaba a las 6 de la mañana, que podíamos dormir aquí porque allá es peligroso y aquí estábamos seguros.
¿Necesitas más agua?
Que bendiga.
¿Cómo fue el viaje como la calor?
Súper terrible, agua, todo el camino, hidratándonos con agua.
¿Qué quieres tu vida hacer?
La vida de corrupción, de amenazas que teníamos en el país, de violencia.
Por todo tu viaje.
Yeah, and it's it's hard. Like some of these people, just so thankful, just coming, wanting a better life. I mean, yeah, like on one hand, I mean, in terms of open borders, there has to be some sort of process. You can't just allow anyone and everyone. What happens if, allegedly that, are coming because of insecurity are really like, drug traffickers? What if they're actually, individuals that are part of cartels? Like, we don't want those kinds of individuals. I mean, but yeah, I do know that there's probably a lot of individuals that just want a better life. They fear, the area that they grew up in. There's a lot of insecurity, there's danger, there's crime, there's gangs. So yeah, a lot of these people do just want a better life. Some of them are not very educated. They just know that it'll be better over here than over there. So
Viaje fue difícil para tu ver. Tu ayuda a todo el viaje. ¿Eres de los mejores? ¿Cómo fue extraño? ¿En qué hondo estaba el río? ¿Está bien hondo en una parte?
Sí, en una parte que estábamos con una niña, pero no tuvimos que devolver porque no pudimos.
Por acá van bastantes familias, como unas 6, 7 familias, por ahí hay una señora embarazada.
Vamos a Walmart y vamos a volver, okay?
It is unbelievable what some people go through in an effort to have a good life. If this isn't a reminder of what to appreciate.
yeah, exactly what these people are risking everything, risking having food and water just, for an opportunity, just for that chance. And, yeah, it's pretty, it's humbling.
In your own life, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, just a fence can
figuring all this bling, that's the obvious sign of the train.
That the
¿Qué puede decir sobre la bestia?
Bastante peligroso para ti. Nosotros venimos atravesando 4 trenes.
Durante el día, muy calor,
Mucho sol.
la noche, muy frío. ¿Qué es el problema con Venezuela y cómo puede Venezuela edificar más fuerte y seguro para la gente de ahí?
En Venezuela decidimos emigrar porque no teníamos comida, no teníamos agua, la luz se nos iba a cada rato. O sea, ya Venezuela no era un país como para vivir. Muchas personas se han muerto de hambre. Cuando comenzó la crisis, todo desapareció. Toda la comida desapareció.
Yeah, and a lot of these immigrants are just relying on the kindness of people. Something to consider.
Cuando salió COVID, se cerró todo en el país.
Antes del COVID ya todo estaba cerrado.
Things are rough right now in Venezuela. They have a leader now, President Maduro, that arguably stole the election and is still in power. The U.S. government does not like President Maduro, so they implemented harsh trade restrictions that have negatively impacted. Inflation went up nearly 2,000% in just 2022. Basic necessities are scarce and the price to buy them is astronomical. Things are really tough right now in Venezuela.
¿Cuántos años tienes?
26.
Deseo que el mundo pueda encontrar paz y ser sin violencia. ¿Qué mensaje tienes a la gente?
Nosotros los migrantes tenemos un Dios poderoso que sabemos que nos ayuda.
Buena suerte. Y,
Dios les bendiga.
thank you.
Yo sí tengo un problema político de un cargo muy alto en mi país. Cuando tú sirves a alguien, pues
Yeah, God is powerful. God's almighty. So, amen to that.
So, eres valeroso, fuerte, like.
Allá nos vamos a ir, pues muchas gracias.
Let this be a reminder to never try anything again. Anything I have to complain about absolutely pales in comparison to the story we just heard today. We're living a life that people literally died to have. I hope this story puts it in perspective for us. Our gratitude for this country, how we feel about this country. Let this be encouragement to you and motivation to you. Do whatever you do, work very hard. Whether you're a bricklayer, or a plumber, or a coder, an engineer, professor, whatever it is, like do your part.
Yeah, and it's true. Many people want to be here, want to have these opportunities. I mean, I think like for new businesses started, I think it's like some statistics that 40% of them are started by immigrants. So work hard. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems with the immigration system. There has to be some system in place. It can't just be, anyone and everyone coming in. But, we do have asylum that protects individuals that fear going back to their country of birth. We have it in place. But yeah, it is difficult. A lot of these people, some of them even on the journey, suffer abuses, single women, even women with kids, things like that. There's sexual abuse, things that happen. So it's just a very difficult journey individuals have to go through. But hopefully some of the information you heard was helpful. God bless you. And YouTube will recommend you other videos right here. Take care.